And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about using the LC3, particularly the simulator portion of it. And I have already kind of shown, let me just bring that back up real quick here, the simulator before. There is this part of it, and also we have the console here too. So we have talked about these, I mentioned them and kind of a little bit what they do, but let's actually today stop and examine exactly what all these different pieces are before we actually start running our programs in them. So when we load the simulator, which I already mentioned, you can see that this is our main portion of the simulator. It's going to look similar to the one that we see here, right? Or if you want to bring it up again, it just really kind of depends on how much you expand. So I can, resize the window here to kind of get something more like this. Let's look at those different menus. Now I did mention these before, but in case you don't remember, let's start by going from left to right here. And starting on the left, you'll see R0 through R3, and then skipping over to the fourth column, you can see R4 to R7. These, of course, are the 8 registers that the LC3 instructions use as sources of data, and also the destination results. Remember, we use the registers for a lot of stuff. The columns of X000s and zeros are the contents of those registers. So we store everything in the registers using that. So you can see that first it was stored in hex, and then in front of the numbers means it was treated as a hex number. That's what the little x means. And then it also is decimal. So you can actually see what is it in hex and then what it is as a decimal. Now when you launch the simulator, you can see that these registers, when you first load it up, are always set to 0. All right, let's continue looking at these different menus here. So if during the execution of a program, let's just say real quick that register 2 contained the decimal value of 129, you would see this. Right, R2 X0081 129. Right, the 0081 would be the hexadecimal value of 129, and of course 129 is the decimal value. Now, looking at a couple other things here, the program counter, or PC, points to the next instruction to be run. When you load your program, it will contain the address of your first instruction. The default value of this, of course, is location 3000. The IR, or instruction register, contains the value of the current instruction. It holds a 0 when you launch the simulator since no instruction is current yet. So then after that, it's going to go to the next instruction and it'll increment accordingly. The PSR, or processor status register, contains the state of the processor, which is either user mode or privilege mode, and the value of the condition codes. The condition codes, or CC, are set by certain instructions, add, and, or, LEA, LD, LDI, or LDR, and they consist of 3 registers. If you recall, those 3 registers are N, Z, and P. All right, so negative, 0, positive. Since only one of the 3 values can have one at any time, the simulator just shows the name of the register, which currently has a value of 1. So when you start the simulator, 0 has the value 1. If you end up with negative values, obviously it goes to N. If you end up with a positive value, it goes to P. All right, and now let's actually look at the actual memory itself. The memory, of course, is shown as this long list of numbers. The LC3 has a total of 65,536 memory locations. Now that's a lot to try and sort through manually. However, there's a jump to box that we can use to easily navigate the long list. And it looks like that. Jump to, and you just choose the location. The first column in the long list of memory location tells you the address of the location. So the X, 3000, 3001, 3000, whatever. That's just the memory location. The second column tells you the contents of a location in binary. So whatever that value is, it's going to be given to you in binary. It's not going to display it in hex. It's going to display it in binary. If you want to see it in hex, you can look in the third column, which also represents the contents. And, as we've kind of already established, it's a lot easier to try and interpret things in hexadecimal than it is in binary. Binary gets very large very quickly. It's also a lot more easy to make mistakes because of how easy it is to change one digit and then you gotta go and fix your entire program. Now the fourth column, of course, is the assembly language interpretation of the contents of a location. So that's where you'll see like and, add, all that other stuff. If a location contains an instruction, this assembly interpretation will be useful. If it contains just data, though, it's going to ignore the fourth column entirely. Right? And the last thing that we need to talk about, of course, is the console window. Right? This is the second window that appears when we run the simulator. And I've already mentioned, again, both of these pieces, but the console is kind of inconspicuous and has a vague title, LC3 console. This window will sometimes display messages such as halting the processor, but often we'll see it used for input and output routines in the program. And when we do that, your input and output will be displayed using this window. And that concludes everything, folks. Until next time.